You talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Well, then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here. Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Oh, yeah?
Anti-Afro Svengalis. This video is overdue, and I'm finally able to bring it to you because it's very important. It is essential that I come on here and try to figure out what in the world is going on. Tiff P, I'm addressing you directly. You posted a live stream. Now we're about 2 weeks in. You posted a live stream and it's no longer up on your channel. But some of the things that you were saying caused me great concern. And I'm trying to figure out, number one, who are you referring to? When you made these statements, you were making statements about contacting the police, contacting the FBI. You made references to filing lawsuits. But people, thankfully, the audio of the part that I'm referring to was captured. So I'm going to play these comments and then I'm going to come back and address what my concerns are. Stay tuned and I will return.
With the, the fake lawsuits and all the weird shit. Yeah, y'all doing way too fucking much. But I guess. Now the thing about it is, it's too much in my opinion. When you're dealing with these people, you can't keep fucking with these people. When you start talking about fucking with federal courts and law enforcement agencies and all that, it gets to a point where they start comparing notes and they start adding, subtracting, dividing, and carrying the fucking one. And please don't let nobody send a complaint, somebody that has been named in one of these many lawsuits that feels some kind of way because their private information has been put out in one of these publicly filed documents, like their first and last name, their address, their business information, and all that. That shit can get real fucking problematic. But again, everybody have at it. And everybody again that's calling the FBI and law enforcement and all that keep enlisting the help of these various agencies and things like that, please keep in mind, particularly after your second, third, fourth, fifth call, while they're investigating the other person that you're making claims against, they also looking into your ass. You putting your ass front row and center. These people don't like to fucking be bothered. These are government workers, okay? These are people who are overworked and under goddamn paid. Ain't nobody got time for that bullshit. But keep playing. Keep playing. Whatever.
So yes, Tiff P, can you be specific as to who you're referring to? In particular, when you're talking about reports to law enforcement, because here's the situation. I'm one of the people who've made phone calls to law enforcement and the FBI. Rev G is another one, and there are others whose names I'm not going to mention. What you said in your live stream was reckless. And I'm shocked. You stated you're a lawyer. This is not any type of language I've ever heard from any attorney. Because if someone believes something to be a crime, what are they supposed to do? Are they not supposed to contact law enforcement? So my question for you is, how can you make this judgment when you don't even know what went on the report? How can you make the judgment when you don't know specifically what was stated to the law enforcement agency? And then you speak in an exclusionary manner. How and why do you think that people here on YouTube are excluded from protection as afforded by the law? This is what you're saying, and this is not the language that an attorney would be representing. Even if you have a client, I don't know the area of law that you specialize in, but let's say you're in defense, criminal defense. Are you telling me that if your client reported that he or she was a crime victim, because that doesn't exclude someone charged with a crime from being a crime victim, you would advise that person not to contact the police? If your client had evidence that was a part of a trial or evidence that was part of a crime that you were aware of, are you trying to tell me that you are going to conceal that evidence because you don't think it's something that the police or the FBI should be made aware of? Well, we know you concealing evidence, you can get disbarred, right? So how can you be making judgments for law enforcement? How can you be making judgments for people who have concerns about threats that were leveled against them or any other conduct that they believe to be a crime? How can you come on here and say these people don't have a right to contact law enforcement? Who exactly is entitled to protection through our Constitution and through police agencies in your community? Wouldn't you be calling the police if somebody subjected you to criminal behavior? And let me tell you this, what you stated about wasting time, people calling the FBI and the police are going to be in some sort of trouble, what you described is absolutely nothing like my experience. It's not Gerald's experience, and it's not any of the people who I'm aware of who've called the FBI and local law enforcement. As a matter of fact, every single one of us has a contact person. We have business cards, we have email addresses and cell phone numbers. Your quantification of the number of times, about the fourth or fifth time they're going to start comparing notes, that is not what we were told. We are told not to try to figure anything out. If you think something is going on that's placing you at risk, you need to let us know, and we will let you know whether or not this is a violation of the law. The advice that you're giving people is dangerous. Don't call law enforcement? How can you make that statement for other people? This is something that's very bizarre coming from an attorney. I work with lawyers every single day. They're officers of the court. You said you're a lawyer, you're an officer of the court. You are supposed to be upholding the law. You're not doing that when you're discouraging people from calling law enforcement. I mean, to me, this is one of the most bizarre statements I've ever heard coming from an attorney. I mean, who is going to tell someone not to call the police? This is not about people giving an opinion about whether they think law enforcement should be involved in these YouTube streets, or people should be contacting law enforcement when something goes down. That is not the problem. The problem is when people become specific. When they are aware that someone has contacted law enforcement and they come on the internet, mention that, chide the person, harass the person, that is called witness tampering or witness intimidation, right? This is what was explained to us. I'm aware of what witness intimidation is. It doesn't matter if people don't think a situation is serious. All criminal offenses need not meet your criteria of seriousness. It's according to what the law states. There isn't just crime that involves death or near death or taking millions and millions of dollars. Would you not agree? There are all types of crimes in penal code sections in all states across the United States. Just because you don't think it's serious doesn't mean law enforcement doesn't take it to be very serious. As a matter of fact, in one case here on YouTube, I was interviewed 2 times. Whose time am I wasting? Just the opposite of what you stated occurred. They've been very supportive, and I'm referring to law enforcement. Occurred. They've been very supportive, and I'm referring to law enforcement. They've been very reassuring, and they got threats to stop. Several people in these YouTube streets have been told by the police, you need to stop what you are doing, or you're going to be arrested. That statement, that warning refers to being arrested sooner rather than later, because the criminal investigation continues. I mean, it goes even far beyond what people are doing to others in this particular YouTube space. There are situations that are so bizarre and so out of control. The criminal extent of these people's behavior has prompted the involvement of other agencies, and investigations are ongoing. This is a situation people don't even know the 1/3 of it. So I wouldn't be too anxious to get on here, Tiff P, and start telling people not to contact law enforcement, because you could be bringing yourself into the fold. You're up here trying to discourage people from cooperating with law enforcement when they're subjected to threats. What are you going to do if somebody threatens you and your family? You're going to just accept that and blow it off? No, you're not. You are going to contact the police. And I dare you to tell me you do otherwise. You're going to let somebody put you and your children at risk and you're not going to do anything about it? Again, you can't make the judgment for other people whether or not they feel they have been threatened and law enforcement needs to be involved. Now, I'm acknowledging there are people who don't even get down like this. They're going to handle things themselves. Okay, that's cool. That's how they operate. However someone decides to handle their business, they get to handle their business. But you cannot tell us how we should handle ours. What you're saying in one respect is right on point, undeniably factual, that law enforcement compares notes. But guess what happens in these instances when they start comparing notes? It's going to reinforce the illegal conduct that the culprits have engaged in. It's not going to point to us. They've been through our social media. In one case, law enforcement went through my social media, went through Gerald's social media, and information on devices. Yes, that's what investigators are supposed to do. And very clearly, there was no evidence that we were engaged in any process of harassing people. Just because we're getting on YouTube and explaining and expressing our view about fraud and giving our opinions about someone, whoever, doesn't mean people have a right to threaten us. So no, there is no criminal conduct that was identified on my part, not on Gerald's part, and on the part of any of the other people who've made reports. So yes, go ahead, do your due diligence. You're not going to find any criminal acts on this end. We are not the individuals who are violating the law. There are people who are non-law abiding, but it has nothing to do with us. Let's say someone makes statements and they continue repeating those statements. That can be considered intent, because you're repeating the same thing over and over and you're targeting a specific person. You're trying to get this person to be placed in a state of fear. Your statements, although people may think that they're borderline, the intent of repeating it over and over can be considered criminal intent. They aren't supposed to be waiting until somebody is injured. There are laws that protect people. Now, back in the day, it was very different. You can be arrested for a criminal offense without having laid your hands on a person. Nobody has to wait to be injured. They don't have to wait for their family to be injured. They don't have to wait for any of that. These are criminal offenses. And these people who have been warned have not come onto the internet and stated such. And one of them is, let me see your handcuffs, who you seem to, whatever you, let me see handcuffs, go for it. She has engaged in multiple criminal offenses. And law enforcement is aware. And there have been other people who have been told, leave this individual alone, their target. Leave them alone. And guess what? The behavior stopped. The threats stopped. The harassment stopped. These are criminal offenses. And there are several people who have been told this investigation is not closed. You know how long it takes to investigate some criminal offenses. That doesn't make any difference to me or the other people. The fact that we had to get law enforcement involved is the issue. What is your solution? People complaining about law enforcement getting involved, they have yet to come forward with any alternative plan. They're certainly welcoming these people on their platforms. You cannot make others your harassment entertainment, your threats of violence entertainment, without running the risk of the police getting involved. If people so choose not to get the cops involved. That's their business. But you can't make that decision for other people. Whether or not they should call the police, whether or not they should tolerate criminal conduct. You can make the decision for yourselves, but you can't make it for other people. And yeah, there are some people around here who have benefited from support when they were under attack, but when the people who helped them are under attack, they get the hell out of Dodge. Okay, there is no law that says that they have to cooperate unless there's a trial or a judge orders depositions. But that's a morality issue. And people have a right to call that out. People have a right to make their opinions known about the situation. That's not intimidating anyone. It's saying that you're being a hypocrite because you wanted all of this for your family. You obtained this for your family. But when your so-called friend's family is under attack, you get the hell up out of here. And yes, I'm referring to Lynn and Honor. That means what you said about safety and families was bullshit. It absolutely didn't mean anything. It's just play on words. So please, Tiff P, before you come onto the internet and you start telling people they should not be calling the police, in other words, they should be putting their lives in danger, are you applying the same formula to yourself and to your family? Think about it, people. We are not excluded from the legal protections afforded by the law. People decide to opt out, they can opt out, but you can't force other people out of the equation. You can't exclude people from being protected. Be mindful of what you're saying as an officer of the court. It's extremely unethical for you to make these statements and imply that people need to be tolerating criminal conduct. You're going to see not so far off in the future exactly how serious these situations indeed are. But the best news to report, the threats stopped after law enforcement got involved. So it worked. You know, there's so much more to come. In the meantime, you know the drill. Buyer beware.